Both the Glacier Express and the Bernina Express are fantastic, but that does not mean you can't go wrong. They're very different, and one might fit your specific itinerary much better than the other. Now let's compare the routes first. The Glacier Express starts here in the south of Switzerland in Zermatt and then goes all the way up to the northeast to the city of Chur. Then it goes back for a little bit and then south to St. Moritz, where it ends. The Bernina Express route actually overlaps with the Glacier Express route in this area, but from here it goes further south to Tirano, Italy. But there's another branch too that starts in St. Moritz and also ends in Tirano, Italy. Plus, there's an optional bus section from Tirano to Lugano along the lakes. Lugano is in Switzerland, but the bus crosses a part of northern Italy. In order to choose which train is best for you, timings of course matter too. So the entire Glacier Express route is about 8 hours. The train section of the Bernina Express is about 4 hours, but if you do the southern section only from St. Moritz to Tirano, it's 2.5 hours. And then there's the bus section, that's another 3 hours. So the Glacier Express is 8, but if you do the entire Bernina Express route, bus and train combined, you're also looking at 7 hours plus the time to switch in Tirano. That's also a full day of travel, all combined. Let's compare the scenery too. Once you depart from Zermatt, the journey starts here in the Matter Valley, which is a narrow valley but beautiful and spectacular. Then the journey continues here in the upper Rhone Valley, which is wider at sections, forested, really beautiful, I would say. Then the train climbs the Oberalp Pass around here and continues in the Rhine Valley, also called the Swiss Grand Canyon, another beautiful section you don't want to miss. Now, the least interesting section is just the 10 minutes going into Chur and going back out of the city, but then you'll enter the Via Mala region with its castles and rivers. It continues here in the Albula Valley with the famous Landwasser Viaduct. And finally, you enter the Engadine Valley over here, where St. Moritz is located. So overall, nearly 8 hours of spectacular scenery, but it's a full day, of course. So you have to consider that too. Now, the shorter train section of the Bernina Express is also spectacular and includes the same scenery in the beginning after leaving Chur. But then there's the additional southern section, which is absolutely worth it. The train passes the Motorrad Glacier here, then climbs the Bernina Pass over here, passing the lake on the top of the pass, the Lago Bianco, and then it descends into the Poschiavo Valley and finally enters Italy. A lot of variety in this relatively short route. As you may expect, opinions on these trains vary a lot. Some people say it's a tourist trap, others say it's absolutely essential and I plan my entire trip around these trains. So let me tell you how we make decisions when we design custom itineraries for our clients. One factor, for example, is if someone is going from town A to town B anyway. So for example, from Zermatt to Chur, why not do a section of the Glacier Express then? It makes sense. But we also look at the option if people can do one of these trains as a day trip, so not necessarily as a full transfer or a full day on the train. When doing it as a day trip, you can make interesting combinations like not sitting on the train all day, but doing just a section and then in the afternoon do a short walk somewhere, for example. For people who want to have a more luxurious experience, we also look at the train classes. So there's of course second class, there's first class, that applies to both trains. But the Glacier Express, for example, also has excellence class, which is limited in availability, but worth it if you want to have an extra luxurious trip. On the Bernina Express, there's also currently the historical Pullman class, which takes you to Tirano, Italy, and includes a lunch at an Italian winery. So that's also a very special experience. Now, what we also take in account is the season. For example, the Bernina Express has fewer availability and fewer trains in winter, and the Glacier Express stops operating completely in late fall when they do some maintenance on the rolling stock. Now, what do both trains have in common? Availability tends to be challenging for both trains. They are both pretty popular. As discussed, there is a section that overlaps between Koer and St. Moritz, so that's exactly the same traveling on both trains. Then there is regular trains versus these official Bernina Express and Glacier Express trains. That applies on the entire route. So you can take a regular train as well and see the exact same scenery without making seat reservations. And in some circumstances, that's actually the better way to travel on these spectacular routes. Personally, I've done the express trains a couple of times. I also tend to hop on the regional trains quite a bit for day trips, for example. In the Rhone Valley, there's a spectacular pedestrian suspension bridge to take a look at, but then you have to take the regional train and hop off and walk over to the bridge. Likewise, in the Albula Valley, where the Glacier Express and the Bernina Express pass through, there's the spectacular Landwasser Viaduct. And if you want to see that up close, you also have to get off the train and do a bit of walking. And regional trains tend to be more convenient for a day like that. There's always a way for you to enjoy these beautiful train routes, but preparation is everything. Just let us know if we can help you.